On this episode, I interviewed Jeremy Knight, Austin, Texas realtor who dominates YouTube, getting multiple leads per day from this platform. We discuss how he has grown to over 14,000 subscribers, why YouTube is his favorite platform to create content for lead generation, and he provides tips to all real estate agents who want to grow their business through YouTube. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy this episode.
The Bono's Real Estate Podcast.
Jeremy Knight, how's life?
It's a good time to be alive, as they say. Austin market is definitely slowed down quite a bit, but a lot of good things are happening and a lot of good things are coming. So I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited to have you on, Jeremy. I can't remember when we kind of met through social media, never met in person, but it had to have been 6 months ago to a year. Or we just
about 6 months ago, I met Sarah at a private event for Tom Ferry. And so that's where I met Sarah. And then through Sarah, I started seeing all the content you guys were putting out. And about 6 months, but it's been fun, man. Watching y'all is quite entertaining. So thanks for continuing to put out that content.
Yeah, no, we have a ton of fun doing that type of stuff. And we love watching your guys' stuff. Your content is awesome. We almost had the opportunity to meet at Edge this year, but that thing
in 2 days, 3 days.
Yeah, I know. I went on there and it was like no longer available to sign up. And this was like a month and a half ago, and I was like, geez. So, anyways, no, before we kind of get into things, do me a favor for anybody who will listen or watch this. Introduce yourself. Who is Jeremy Knight?
Yeah, so I've been a realtor here in Austin for the last about 8-9 years. We're a husband-wife team. Over the last really 4 years, I've really dove into video a lot heavier than I had done in the past. And since then, we've created a really great lead generating source out of our YouTube channel. We get quite a few leads per day really out of there. And so we've created a nice little business. Now we're growing a team. So who is Jeremy Knight? Jeremy Knight's just a fun guy that wants to do fun things, do dope stuff. So that's pretty much Jeremy Knight.
Nice. So to kind of segue right into that, I wanted to talk to you a lot about social media because that's kind of where we interact with each other the most. And you brought up YouTube. I see you most on Instagram, but let's talk about YouTube just for a second. What is kind of your process for YouTube to where you're generating these leads almost on a daily basis? What is your process?
Yeah. So what's really interesting about YouTube is one of those mediums I think a lot of people think is very tough to do. And it's actually quite easy. The tough part about YouTube really is just gaining an audience and gaining an audience organically. As real estate agents, we definitely like the views. We like when people comment and write things on our videos, especially if we're going to take the time to put out an 8+ minute video on YouTube. We want all the accolades that come with the time put in that. And I think that's why agents find me more on Instagram, is because it's a little more tolerable, short content that's easier to digest. Whereas like with YouTube, you actually have to spend more time cultivating an audience organically. And the organic part is the hard part. But once you've put out the videos and the content, then it starts to grow. And the people that are reaching out to you from YouTube aren't other realtors watching your Instagram content. They're people that are searching. And so what's powerful about YouTube is that you can actually search for content. Like literally as we're speaking, I just put out a video about Taylor Morrison and one of their floor plans. So if somebody searches in Taylor Morrison Azure floor plan, they're going to see my video. And then they're going to come in and watch. And then potentially down the line, oh, you know what? This guy's put a lot of content. Let me give him a call. And so the YouTube process has been great. I break it up into 4 different buckets of content. I do a lot of talking head stuff, but I like to do, in-person stuff as well. So I have kind of like 4 different buckets of content that I stay in. One's just about Austin news, what's happening in Austin. Second's about the Austin housing market. Third's about neighborhoods. And the fourth is just about new construction. New construction can be just like new communities. It could be issues that builders are going through, what to look out for, anything new construction.
Awesome. Yeah, I think the buckets is critical to, especially like a platform like YouTube. And you do a great job of that. I was going to ask, YouTube Shorts is a relatively new thing in the past year or so. Have you been putting out YouTube short videos, or have you been staying long form, horizontal type videos?
You know, for agents, it's a lot easier to put out short form content, right? Just the time that goes into it, it's much easier. The research that goes into putting out something that's short form is easier.
Right.
With YouTube, I haven't been doing short form. I've been off the bandwagon of it because I've been trying it and then not trying it, trying it, not trying it. And whatever you do, whether it's YouTube Shorts, Instagram, TikTok, and I know you'll attest to this, the most important thing you can do, whether your content's not that great or whatever, is consistency, because consistency will build. And so I'm not super consistent on shorts right now. Some of the shorts I've done have done well, but because they're not doing like crazy like my other videos have done, I don't put out as many shorts. And believe it or not, my short form content is the most disliked content on my channel. So if I look at the like to dislike ratio, because people can dislike stuff on Facebook, or sorry, on YouTube still, if I look at it, I'm usually about 95% like ratio in all my videos, my long form. My short form, no matter what I talk about, it's like 80%.
Wow. Okay.
So, and it's literally, I'm talking about the same thing long and short, but really like, you know, just much shorter. And every time it's like 80%, maybe 85%.
Do you have an idea of why that is? Or
Yeah, because I think this goes for TikTok and Instagram as well. People aren't really searching on those platforms for information. They're searching to be entertained. And so a lot of my short form content's more like, here's the information. And so I think because people don't want information, they want just to be entertained. That's why it's getting disliked. And so this is the big thing. I've been on the BAM podcast, Broke Agent Media, and they were heavily like, oh, you got to put all your same TikTok content onto YouTube. And I'm like, don't do that, because unless your stuff's just really entertaining stuff, they don't want it on. Still, short form is more entertaining. And even the stuff I put on Instagram isn't entertaining. It's more like, here's the facts of what's happening.
Right.
And so, because like you do a fantastic job about being entertaining and engaging, and you know, with the comedic, you know, what you guys are doing on your end over there. I'm not funny like that. Like, I'm good for a couple good jokes, but I can't think of short form funny like that.
Right.
So, and that's why I just do more informational. And again, we're going after business, right? Buyers and sellers. And then agents are going to find us on Instagram and potentially send us, you know, buyer seller referrals.
Right.
So that's good. That's why you got to be on both platforms, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think kind of to kind of jump piggyback on what you're talking about. It's kind of this scroll versus search idea. I think Jake Santana brought that up actually in one of his episodes. And it's on Instagram. There's so much. It's only scroll, right? You're just endlessly scrolling and hoping that somebody watches your video. YouTube is a totally different monster, right? And so, like, your videos, your long form videos kill it because people are actually searching for what you're putting out, and that's why it's so effective for you. And then it's interesting to hear about how, you know, your shorts on YouTube are a little bit more disliked. That's really interesting to me. But I do think it comes back to that search versus scroll. People go to YouTube intentionally to find what they're looking for in most cases. What's interesting about YouTube Shorts, though, for me is that it seems like I'm doing this now. I go to YouTube to check on my analytics or whatever, and then I see a video of Andrew Tate, or I see a video of Jason Santana or Jeremy Knight, and I just watch it, and then I scroll, and then 15 minutes later, I see myself, I've been going scrolling.
And so, and I think YouTube's is purposely doing that, right? And that's why you're seeing me on there, or seeing you know, maybe Andrew Tate. I don't know how much you're watching Andrew Tate, but that's that's kind of funny. But I mean, that's the same thing, because YouTube is more of a search engine. It's really trying to put like what you watched other videos and telling what you're seeing in there. You know, I get a lot of on mine when I scroll, it's a lot of like airplane videos and like people doing funny stuff. And then I get a bunch of real estate stuff in there too. And that's just because they're curtailing it. And I think that's really on any platform too. But I think YouTube Shorts in the long run will be a very vital tool that I think agents can take advantage of, especially as they're opening up their creator portal where you're actually getting paid more. One of my biggest issues with it currently is if I put it out, you know, an 8 to 10 minute video over a month, I'll probably make $50, $60 off of that one video.
Nice.
Well, if I did I did one of those others like shorts, I make not even a penny.
Right.
So it's not really worth the time as far as a financial sense. And I don't know that those shorts are actually getting me business. And so I'm a big fan of putting dollars in and time into what gets you business.
Right.
That way you can extract business out of it. And I haven't just seen it yet on shorts there. Now, Instagram, I think, is a fantastic, and I don't do TikTok, but I think those short forms are a great way to continue to get business because number one, you have a lot of agents that have time on their hands during the day. So they're on Instagram more. And so they see your content more, they're more apt to send you business. So that's a great place for agent referrals and potential business.
Right. Okay. And real quick, kind of just, what is your handle for YouTube? Just throw that out real quick, and then I'll throw it up there in the afterwards.
Yeah. So if you just search my name, Jeremy Knight, you'll find me right away. It's Jeremy Knight. You're moving to Austin Realtor. But if you just put in Jeremy Knight, you'll automatically get to my channel.
Okay, cool. So everybody go follow Jeremy on YouTube, or subscribe is the right terminology.
That's
how many subscribers do you have at this point on YouTube?
I'm right around 14,000. And if you think about 14,000, I'm getting, as far as like leads, we're getting a good solid 2 to 3 leads per day just from YouTube alone. And I'd say on an average year, we're doing about 40 million a year just off of 40 to 50 million a year just off of YouTube content.
No kidding. Dude, that's great. And you said it was and your wife is, you and her are a team.
Yeah.
And is there anybody else on the team?
So we've had a couple agents here and there. They don't do as much business as what we do. So we have a total of 4 agents plus an admin plus a TC. Okay. So that's kind of like how our team works. Our agents, they do about 12 to 15 deals a year. And, my wife and I do probably 70 plus.
Nice. Okay. Awesome, dude. That's great. Yeah. Okay, so and last point that I wanted to make about YouTube and kind of the subscriber versus follower, say compare Instagram to YouTube. What I have found is getting a subscriber on YouTube is way more difficult than getting a follower on Instagram or TikTok. Because again, they're intentionally going to YouTube for a purpose, and if you can fulfill that purpose for them, then you're going to gain their what is the word?
Their trust. Well, here's the coolest part I think about, and this is why I stress YouTube as a medium. Number one, you don't have to have 14,000 subscribers. You just have to have eyeballs. And so that's one part of it. But what's interesting about YouTube and what happens with YouTube. So when you find a new show that you want to watch on Netflix or whatever, what ends up happening? You watch the first episode, you decide whether you like it or not, or maybe watch half the episode, and then you either bounce out or you're committed. And when you're committed, now you try to binge the rest of that all in one day because you want all of it. You're excited. And so that's the same thing that happens with YouTube content. It's a little bit harder to do on Instagram. People will scroll through your stuff and they got to pick what they're looking at. But on YouTube, when somebody gets in and they click on a video, now they'll spend 3 hours watching all of your content. And I think that's the tough part for most agents, is putting in all the time to have 3 hours, 4 hours worth of content. To give you an example, per month, I'll have more than 5,000 watch hours, not minutes, hours a month from YouTube. So that means people are literally watching all my stuff. Now, here's what happens from that, why it's so important, is that when somebody calls me and they're like, hey, I've been watching your YouTube channel. I'm like, awesome. Well, how long have you been watching? Oh, I just spent 4 hours watching you. The reality is that client is going to be an amazing client 90% of the time, versus if you get a cold lead from somewhere or you get a sign call, you got to really cultivate that buyer. You really got to build that trust. I don't have to build any trust. They're already ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that makes it a much easier, I'd say the last year and a half, 2 years have been a lot more stress-free. It's a lot of business, a lot of work, but stress-free when it comes to working with clients.
Right. That's amazing. Yeah. You're obviously doing a great job of that. So keep it up. One thing that I wanted to ask you, I think a lot of people are wondering this. Did you get your real estate license and immediately start hitting YouTube and hitting social media and creating videos? Or is that something that you adopted later on?
I think it's tough for somebody that just starts real estate to jump in and be proficient in video. I could only think of like one person maybe who's a good friend of mine who has a really good YouTube channel, and they basically just copied kind of what I did.
Yeah.
They've created a great business off of it. I mean, we're in the Tom Ferry ecosystem, so R&D, but it's kind of hard to have that knowledge firsthand. I wish I had started and been more consistent with YouTube way earlier and understood how YouTube worked. Right. Here's a problem I think most agents do have too when they start doing YouTube. They don't understand how it works.
Right.
Right. You put out a video. Okay, where's the views? All right, let me pay for views now. Now, the more you pay for views, the more YouTube's not going to just organically put your videos in front of people. So that's a challenge. And the more and the less consistent you are, the less YouTube's taking your channel seriously. Right. And so the more consistent you're putting out content, YouTube's going to find your audience. Right. But you have to be putting out content that's searchable, that people are actually wanting. The information's got to be good, right? You can't just be like, let me tell you about the 5 tips about buying a home. Number 1, get a lender. 2, get an agent, look at a home, put an offer in. And that's not really great information. It is, right? That's a process, but it's not great information. So putting out good information is tough. And so I think you got to have a little bit of experience, but if you got a good script writer, man, go for it. I think you could do a lot.
Yeah, right. So how long did it take you, do you think, to kind of figure out which buckets you wanted to go for, which, how you were going to film things? Because, I'm kind of in the process of, understanding that this can do a whole lot for you. Right.
Just your phone. Oh my gosh.
Your phone can do a whole lot for you. I recently did buy a camera, and I'm kind of learning, like, it's almost not worth it to have to learn a whole new thing to start making content. It is nice, especially because I've started the podcast. And so when I'm filming like in person and that type of thing, I can use that for the podcast. But for everything else, I mean, this is so valuable. And so how long did it take you to kind of really get in your groove of filming content and coming up with ideas and kind of understanding these platforms?
So I started off doing kind of what most agents do when they get into a platform like that, right? I started putting out listing videos. So get a listing, put out a listing video. Well, it's a little inconsistent, unless you're doing Brad McCallum style videos, who's a good friend of mine. I love Brad. Brad's videos are stupid good. And all he did was sit and learn how to do it. But you're right. I mean, really the basics. I mean, you get a good mic and a good phone and you're good to roll.
Yeah. Those are the exact mics I have.
Yeah, the Rode. I saw you wear it the other day. I use the Rode. It took me a couple years to really understand what I was doing wrong, to understand what I needed to do right. And before then, there was really no community of real estate agents on YouTube. There was a few people, but there was no community to like talk about like what buckets you should be doing, how you should be doing it. And so once I started plugging into the communities that were starting, I kind of like went from like an entry-level guy to growing a really big channel really quick, because I kind of started understanding what I was doing wrong. And you can't just do listing videos unless you're just going to do walkthrough videos of other properties consistently. Right. And so there's a few great channels, even in my market. There's great channels of just people walking around showing homes. That's it. So, but you got to be consistent. So if you're just doing your own listings and not talking about any of their properties, unless you got 15 listings sitting in your pocket, it's going to be tough to have consistent content come out.
Right. Okay. And just to give everybody a little bit more context, everybody starts from 0 subscribers, 0 followers.
Yeah.
How long did it kind of take you to reach that 14,000 subscriber mark?
So I'm a little less concerned with the subscriber count, and I'd be a little more focused on the calls and the business from YouTube. Right. I think that's a more realistic and understandable metric. So the metric that I would look at is this: really, people don't take you seriously until you hit about 1,000 subscribers. And that's about the time you get monetized. And when you get monetized, YouTube starts pushing your videos even harder. Okay. So the burn is getting to 1,000 subscribers, but you still don't even need 1,000 subscribers to start getting business. Realistically, around 300-400 subscribers is where you'll start getting, interest, inquiries. And then you hit 700, 800, you start getting interest. And I'll tell every single agent this right now. And if you take anything away, as you're burning through and getting to that 1,000 subscribers, as you're about to hit 1,000 subscribers, you should have already been hiring.
You're hired.
Because what'll happen is you'll start getting a lot of phone calls, and then you'll get so many phone calls and inquiries that you don't have time to take care of everyone. And that's something that happened to me. So I would say the most important metric is how long it's going to take you to get closer to 1,000 subscribers.
Right.
And when you start getting phone calls. The
Yeah.
reality is, if you start from zero and you put out consistent, so 1 video a week to 2 videos a week. Now there's people that put out 5 videos a week just to get content out. It could be a little content overkill. Tom Ferry says put out 5. I would say, let it burn a little bit, right? Let this burn. This is a slow burn.
Right.
I would do 1 to 2 a week for, 3 or 4 months. And I guarantee you month 4 or 5, you'll start getting a lot of calls. And the problem is, if you ever seen that meme, you have 2 people digging towards diamonds. One guy's so close and he's turned around. The other guy's still hacking away. The problem I see with most agents is they get 4 or 5 months. I'm not getting anything out of this.
Right.
So I'm going to leave it. Okay. Well, did you dive into your analytics? Did you look to see what videos were getting watched? Did you see which videos were getting the most, engagement?
Right.
Now, if you're putting out a ton of content that nobody's engaging with, that content shouldn't be on your channel. You should be putting out more content that people are engaging with, and that'll turn into phone calls as well. So I would say realistically, 4 to 5 months is that mark where you really have to go, okay, do I need to change my content? Am I getting calls? Am I close to hitting 1,000 subscribers? A good example, Trey Serrano, a good friend of mine. He's in San Antonio. This guy did everything I told him for almost a year. He finally, about 10 months in, finally hit 1,000 subscribers. Now, this is San Antonio, so it's a decent market.
Yeah.
Trey went from 1,000 to almost 6,000 subs in less than 2 months.
Oh, wow.
And his phone has not stopped ringing.
And how many long form videos, and long form is considered 2 minutes or more? Is that correct?
I would say realistically, long form is going to be 4+ minutes.
Should be 4+ minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
So how many of those 4+ minute videos was he putting out a week in those 2 months?
He was doing literally 1 video a week.
1 video a week. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah.
And so at this point, do you think that YouTube is your biggest lead generation source and activity?
100%. 100%. It still is. I'm getting a lot of agent inquiries off of Instagram. I mean, I talk to a lot of agents on Instagram. I think Instagram's a very good medium. I think it's more you'll definitely get business off of Instagram. I'm not saying you won't, but I think you get more agent engagement because agents really kind of care more about what you're putting out versus the standard consumer. Because if you're doing a walkthrough of a house, maybe you'll get somebody that's like, oh yeah, I love that house. Hey, I'm going to give you a call. Tell me more about that house. That definitely does happen. But I'd say for me, the bigger driver is YouTube.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I think it goes back to your consumer is going to be searching for things that you can provide them service on YouTube at Instagram and TikTok and even YouTube Shorts. That's going to be more and even Facebook at this point as well.
Yeah.
Facebook Reels. Those platforms are going to be for people just to go and enjoy themselves, scroll, be entertained for a little bit, and then leave. But when everybody can attest to this, when you go to YouTube, you're searching, how do I fix a tire? What is the first step in buying a home? What's the best
What's
place?
Mr. Beast doing this week?
Yeah, right. Exactly. What's the best restaurants in Austin, Texas? What's the coffee shops in Prescott, Arizona? That's what they're going to be going to look for. And I think that has been something on my mind a lot recently is that hyper localized content idea that Tom talks about and Jason and everyone.
Well, here's a cool thing too. If you think about it, if I were to search, just put in a Google search, not even YouTube, just a Google search with top things to do in Prescott. Right. Let's say you have see how I said that right? I'm from Phoenix, I'm Arizona State, go Devils. So
NAU.
So NAU. Hey, beautiful area. I've been there. Now I totally forgot what we're talking about.
Prescott.
Searching. Searching. Yeah. So if I were to search just on Google, which is the #1 search, and I were just to type in something that was close to a video you did, you're going to have searches like, okay, top, Mexican joints, top pizza joints. And then you're going to see a row of videos and then it's going to see your face. Now, if you got a big slice of pizza on there, somebody's like, okay, well, is this worth So now they're watching your content. Now they're in your content. And that's the difference. Nobody's searching on YouTube and seeing your Instagram video pop up.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Okay. So I kind of want to pivot a little bit, just kind of into the real estate market. So what are your predictions going into 2023 for the real estate market? Where do you think it's going? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, every market's different, right? And so you have to look at local and then you have to look at wide. I think if I'm looking at the Austin market, I'm saying next year is going to be a negative year. We're going to see the first, I think in next week, the Austin numbers will pop out. And I think we'll see the first negative year over year percent than we've ever seen. And that's going to have people like in a tizzy.
Right.
The reality is we saw such a huge increase this year early because everyone was trying to get in before interest rates dropped. Now we're seeing, and then you saw a lot of inventory hit, and that's not just in Austin, it's a lot of places. So I think you're going to see the headlines in most markets that, oh, this is the first time in a decade year over year is negative. It's probably not. Probably 2018, 17, you probably had a few months that had negative months year over year. What I think as agents we need to do is focus on more of the month over month and what's happening interest rates wise, because people are going to read headlines. And even I was going back and forth with somebody yesterday about an Inman article where the headline was like 37% of realtors didn't pay their rent. And if you actually read the article, it was 37% of business owners. So you're going to see a lot of these headlines that are clickbait headlines, and everybody's just going to assume, and that's what's happening right now, that the market's total crap.
Right.
When in reality, interest rates have come down a little bit. You can negotiate like crazy. Like there's still opportunities. So I think as agents, we need to make sure we focus on the positives and the fact that we're seeing negative numbers. Explain to the consumer what a negative number actually means. This is year over year. It's not month over month. If you look month over month, we're 3 months in a row flat because we did such a huge peak early in the year. There was no way we're going to have that huge peak beginning next year. It's going to be a lot more flat, and we'll probably still end the year. We'll end the year positive.
Right.
The middle of the year we're going to have 7 months of just negative press, negative, and then everybody's going to buy towards the end of the year.
Right. Okay. Yeah, good. So, so buyers are kind of the people that I've been kind of curious about. What is your best advice? We're in December, going forward into the first quarter, second quarter of 2023. What is your best advice for them? What should their mindset be? And kind of what should they be? What should their mindset be? That's kind of the big question.
I think anybody that's a buyer needs to do two things. Number one, look and find what your comfortability is, right? So get with a lender, find what your actual comfortability is, because, interest rates are higher. And I think agents need to stop saying, and lenders need to stop saying, marry the home, date the rate. I think that's something we just have to stop doing. But number one, find out what your comfortability is, and then get with somebody that can actually show you what your comfortability looks like. All right. So if my comfortability is $500,000, I know my mortgage is going to be around $2,500 or that's probably way wrong, but like $3,500 a month, I can live comfortably on that. Okay. What's a $500,000 house look like? Does that gonna get me what I actually want? And then be patient too. There's a decent amount of inventory rolling over into the beginning of the year, not every market, but there's a decent amount of inventory, and the inventory will pick up as well. So you're going to have a lot of opportunities over the next year. So I would say, number one, really focus on what your comfortability is. And then two, be patient. When that thing pops up that fits what you want, get in the offer that you need to, make sure it's a good offer and get it accepted.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great advice. I think a lot of times, especially on Instagram and TikTok, when I'm scrolling, because I follow a lot of real estate agents, as do you. And when I go through, a lot of it is just talking about here's why right now is a great time to buy.
Yeah.
I don't see enough of right now may not be a good time for you to buy. And if it's not, be patient, right? Wait and see what happens. Or like, I really liked a video that Taya DeCarlo just put out recently.
Oh, Taya's great. Yeah.
Yeah. She's
with the lights.
With the lights. And she was just like, this may be an unpopular opinion, but enjoy the holidays. Don't worry about buying right now, And it was like, you don't see that type of thing. So it's refreshing to see, an agent talk about why you shouldn't buy right now. Right. And that's not to say that right now may not be a good time to buy, but she put out something that was much different than I've ever seen. and it caught my attention. And I was like, wow, and so if it caught my attention, I'm a consumer. And so it's going to catch everybody else's attention when they find that out. So,
and I think the best part of that message is it builds trust. Because here's the thing is, if you think about, when most people think about realtors, they think of like, here's a list of people they trust the most and the least. Right down here is lawyers, and right around the same spot is realtors. Right. And so if you have to build that trust, and I think that's what's powerful about what I've done on my YouTube channel, as I'm not one of those people that's like, Austin's the best place to live. Here's the 15 reasons why you're going to love living here. I've never put out a video like that.
Right.
And I think that's why you have to build trust with your consumer. And that's why your consumer is ready to go when you're being just uber honest about everything, not like.
Right. Right. It's absolutely true. Okay. So before we wrap up, I want to do just a quick little game with you real quick. So
I love it.
One word response. You ready for this? I want you to give me a one word response for the words that I give you. Okay.
Yeah.
So do your mental exercises. Do what you need.
Okay.
And of course, this turned off on me. So 1 second. Stay tuned.
Right.
And I did this with Sarah Allen, just so you know, and she gave me the same word like 5 times. So you can't repeat the same.
I think I saw that one with Sarah. I'll have to go back and watch it real quick.
Yeah. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Home.
Investment.
Fizbo.
Pain in the butt.
Texas.
Gorgeous.
The solo agent.
Amazing.
Dolphin.
Florida. Miami.
Arizona.
Gorgeous.
What'd you use for Texas?
I think I use the same thing. Gorgeous. I'm from, look, I went to Arizona State. I love Phoenix. Yeah. If I had 2 choices. I lived in San Diego before coming back. I had 2 choices, Phoenix or Austin. Yeah. My wife was like, I'm not moving back to Phoenix because somebody bet her that she'd move back to Phoenix. So she didn't want to move back. So thanks, Tony Petersell. I'm in Austin now.
Appraisal.
Yeah. Nightmare.
Coffee.
Delicious.
Marry the house, date the rate.
Hate it.
Tom Ferry.
Beautiful.
Bo, the social title rep.
Handsomest guy I've ever met.
Jeremy Knight, everyone. Jeremy, this was a pleasure. Thank you very much. Any last words for everybody?
Yeah, I'd say hang on. 2023 is going to be a good year for real estate. I know a lot of agents are like really stressed right now. I think if you're doing the right things right now, putting the right steps in your business, going back, I know they keep saying going back to the basics, but when I say go back to the basics, focus on what actually makes you money and focus on that alone, the one thing. 2023 is going to be a great year for most people.
Awesome. Okay, cool. And where can everybody find you? I know we talked about it, but remind them.
Yeah, you can find me at The Real Jeremy Knight on Instagram and just Jeremy Knight on YouTube. You'll find me real quick.
Awesome. Cool. I'm Bo Bullard. You can find me at Bo, the social title rep. I'm with Pioneer Title Agency here in Arizona. And again, this was a pleasure. It was very fun. So thank you, Jeremy. And look forward to connecting with you soon.
Awesome. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
The Bo Knows Real Estate Podcast.